even if we don't hit a home run, eventually those numbers add up. Those singles and those doubles add up. Those stolen bases, those bunts, like everything is a part of the game.
Yeah.
Right? So they all add up. And when they add up, now you can sit back and like, man, you know what? Even when I ain't want to slide into first, we did it. Right?
Like as you share that, I start thinking about we were talking about the VC that you started, a venture capital fund. Incredibly unique. I don't think I've ever heard of an athlete it's starting that. Can you bring me to like the specifics on how you thought about starting a venture fund and what were the industries that like drew you in for that?
So there was a tech boom in America.
I remember it.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. And for so long, the aura around the athlete was just to shut up and dribble, right? Just do what you do. Don't go into no other industry. And the power of the athlete, the empowerment of the athlete started to shift. I would say probably 2010, 11. That's when like athletes started to like, the conversation started. Oh, you guys are powerful. Oh, you guys, you guys have
billions of dollars.
But it's like that was a time where like, I call that the athlete empowerment, era, because athletes was talking and identifying causes and understanding what was happening in our country and in our state and in our own backyard. So that was a moment where the athlete became empowered. So when you talk about the ESPYs,
yes,
and that speech, that was right. And that was like the speech came from that moment of 2010 and 11, and the athlete empowerment moving forward. At the time of the speech, it was just the lid came off, right? So that's how the ESPYs came. But back to the business. People looked at me like I was crazy. Like, Melo, why are you getting into tech? What is tech? Like, what is technology? What you want to do? What's wearable tech? Yeah. So I started getting. I just did it. Like, I wanted to get into it. And me and my partner Stuart Goldfarb, we was just kind of like identifying, these companies and early stage startups, but it was more for me to like learn the industry.
Yes.
So the early stage startups was more for me to go talk to the founder, spend some time with the creator and the team and the founders, understand what's their vision, see the business plan, see the exit, like all of that stuff. Like so that was fun for me, being able to go to an office and sit down with the founder of this company and talk to him direct and him understand like, oh wow, this is not just. No, we don't want you to shut up and dribble. We actually want you. We actually want to hear the shit that you have to say. And from that point on, we just small businesses, early stage. We just invest our own money into it, and they were like, we might as well make this a real business. And that's how it started.
Fuck, it's so cool. You know what I love is as I'm watching you talk about this. Every time we get into these business in these moments, I just see the smile start to grow on your face. Yeah. Like it's real, like I can see the enthusiasm as you start to talk about, talking to these founders and stuff. I can see you've got the bug.
Cause I enjoy that. Yeah. Like I like to consider myself a owner and founder of some of my companies. So I understand that to a certain extent what it takes to, especially for entrepreneurs, to go and have product and have something that you're trying to create, that you have a vision for, and you're trying to sell it and you're trying to pitch it. Like I understand that. So I'm very sympathetic to companies and founders that is in early stage.
Yes.
Because you're basically investing in the founder. You're not investing in the actual,
for sure, whatever
that business is.
Yeah.
Do I like this guy or this lady? And do I like the concept? What is the exit? What is your 5-year plan? Like, yes, those questions are always supposed to be asked, but I try to stay away from those questions.
Yeah.
What is your exit? What is your 5-year plan? Some conversations, you're supposed to ask that.
Yeah.
You should ask that. Some businesses.
Well, asking that is kind of like, to your point, you're asking the question because you're trying to see how that founder reacts to the question.
Yes.
Right. Like, because if you're like, I'm looking for the right person, and you ask a question like, "What's your 5-year plan?" Like, "Oh, Melo, don't worry about it, bro." You're like, "Okay."
Yeah, no, I don't want that answer either. No, I want you to give me the 5-year plan. I want you to give me the exit strategy.
I want to see it in
that
your eyes.
That doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to build this. Even if it's past 5 years, then I might look at you a little different because you already told me that this is a 5-year strategy. So in 5 years, I'm going to be looking for to see where you actually at. And then now we can reevaluate that. But I'd rather just, listen, I'm trying to sell this company in 3 years. Like, be honest with me, right? I'd rather you be honest with me. And I think some companies and some owners, founders, they understand that about me. And just be honest with me, bro. You want to get out of here in 5 years. I want to sell my business in 5 years. I don't want to do this for too much longer. I just want to get a quick flip. Like, just let me know what it is so I can know how to navigate and help you with that.
I have to share this story, and I hope you'll like it. The other day, I'm sitting down with I probably shouldn't name them, so I won't. They're one of the largest active venture capital funds globally. And we were talking about this concept of how they pick a founder. They're invested in 170,000 ventures across the world, right? And so his thing is, it's all about, he was trying to see if there's data points. Can I see if there's a qualitative or quantitative data point to pick the right founders? And he goes, the reality is there isn't. And often it's something that stands out and you're like, okay, this person's unique. And he gave me an example. So they're at this meetup and there's like 400 founders in the room. And this person walks over to him with a laptop and he goes, sorry, can I have 5 minutes of your time? Knowing he's quite senior in the business. He goes, I've gone through everybody's LinkedIn and done a history check on the people. I've stack ranked who the people are and how much of my time I'd be willing to give them by minute increments. And the guy goes, that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. I want to invest in you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most successful businesses. He goes, if you're thinking things that detailed.
Yeah. and early too.
Yeah.
Early.
He hadn't even had an idea yet. He's just trying to see how he should give away his minutes of the night based on who's worth his time.
Yeah. So that goes to show me that you are very intentional on research. You're very intentional on understanding every nook and cranny of what this is. And you're willing to do the work.
Yes.
Like, to me, X everything else, you're willing to do the work.
That's right.
And that's what I take from that story. The fact that you're willing to do the work, the fact that you did all of this, the fact that you were very like, this guy right here gets 2.5 minutes of my time. Like, I need you to come. You need to be over here with me. I need that type of structure.
Yeah. Last question on the business piece before we move is, like, what do you think the biggest asset that you bring to the ventures that you work with? And I'm sure it's shifted and changed from the early days to now. But like, what's the thing that you like? Where's the Melo magic that gets applied to the businesses?
I think just having a wherewithal of the actual business, understanding the landscape of that business, understanding who's supporting that business and then who's not supporting that business and why. I think I bring you an amount of cultural relevance to that company. Most importantly, I think I bring perspective, right? And when you're able to have a certain perspective, you're able to allow people to shift how they think.
I want to drill into that. I'm really curious. You probably saw my eyes. What do you mean? So, like, let's pretend a founder's listening today. They're building their business. Hey, Melo, what's this perspective I need, and like, what is it that you're providing?
It depends on the business.
Yeah.
It depends on the actual lane and genre, like that you're in. Like, what sector of tech that you're in. Again, I don't know everything. Like, I'm still learning, so I want you to understand that. Hey, here's what I'm bringing to you. I'm bringing this perspective. I'm not just bringing. The money, like I'm bringing brains too. I'm bringing perspective. I'm bringing my own IP. Like, I'm bringing my own intellectual property, which is me. So that on top of everything else, and also somebody that you can communicate with and like really have a real conversation about the business and how you. Things that you see, because a lot of times those founders and those of those companies and those CEOs of those companies, you focus on the company guidelines and what that company so you rarely hear perspective outside of the company guidelines.
Yes.
Right? So if I'm able to understand your company, but also bring you a perspective outside of the company guidelines to where you probably would have never thought about how to shift and how to show up in this marketplace, or how to show up with to this age group. You probably never thought about that because you have to abide by these company guidelines.
That's good.
And I think that's what is my strong suit with these companies.
That's so like playing that back, and I think it's a really interesting point for people. When you're in a business and you're doing the day-to-day, you're the founder, you're grinding, you sometimes your line of sight can be really narrow. Like you're focused on really, often it's like the burning platforms, the things that the problems and all of this. And even just having a person, let's say someone doesn't have access to Melo. It's like having someone who can take an objective view and help you see things that you just can't see. Yeah. I have a recent example of this where I sat down with a business, kind of like advisory, helping out. And within about 30 minutes, I identified for them that 78% of their total revenue was coming from one customer. And I was like, holy fuck. we have a problem. And like the reality is like when they're looking at really narrowly at like, oh, how do we do this? And how do we venture
bottom line?
And I'm like, no. How do we, this isn't a business. We're just helping this one business. We got to act. So I think it's a super important point of that perspective.
It is, man. And also the founders have to be willing to, that's another thing. Like you have to be willing to understand what you don't know, and like be willing to allow certain things to help you out, or certain voices to have an opinion on a perspective. Certain voices have a perspective on what you have going on. And I think that's how you build the relationships with these founders and creators. Is like, let me know what you have. I want to hear what you have going. I want to, let me know so we can actually, if I'm constantly, we playing devil's advocate back and forth, like we ping pong, and then I'm going to learn you, you're going to learn my perspective too. And now let's see how we can take what you have and expand on that.
Love that. Is there any common themes that you're seeing from your VC or from the private equity piece, common themes from founders that are making them successful? Or in reverse of that, the ones that are making them not successful?
I don't think there's a common theme anymore.
Okay.
I don't think there's a common thing. Like before, you knew like, okay, Apple is this, Nike is this, Pepsi is this. Like you knew, Google is the, the companies that's the, no matter what. So it's the ones that really is trying to find out their way into the industry, or how they're going to set their feet or set their tone and plant their feet into the certain industries. Those are the ones that like I like to talk to, right? Because you're being disruptive. I want you to I want to support people that's being disruptive. You're smart, and you're being disruptive, right? And you have something that's going to be disruptive. I don't mind talking to people like that because I love being disruptive. So now if you're telling me, hey, I want to be disruptive in the literature industry. Well, let's go be disruptive in the literature industry. Let's go write these books. Let's go talk. Let's write, but let's do it in a way that makes sense so that we can get the followers and the consumers and not just have one customer at 78% of the revenue. Like, let's bust that 78% of the revenue down horizontally, as opposed to just sticking with identifying one person who is 78% of my bottom line. That's crazy.
Wild.
You might just build a company around that person.
Yeah, that's right.
You might just make that person a part of the company at that point.
So shifting a little bit, what's the most important thing that you want to instill on your kids, given like, there's no two ways about it.
Mm-hmm.
The way in which you grew up that created the Melo that sits here today is fundamentally different to the way in which your kids are growing up.
Absolutely.
What's the thing that you really want to instill in them?
I want them to have the freedom of like being them and discovering who they are. Naturally, who I am is going to be a part of you. So accept that. Just embrace that. Don't fight that. Whereas most people will tell you to fight that. Oh, don't be like your dad. Oh, be better than your dad. Oh, don't follow your dad's path. No. Why would you not do that?